When you made that Margo video, were you trying to be viral?
There's an entire misunderstanding actually to that entire video.
What were the feelings that you got when you first blew up?
It starts to weigh on you that you have to start performing.
How did you get to the point of doing TikTok trends to making adult content?
There's more lore to this. Grossed in total is 1.8
million. There might be areas where you haven't been as financially responsible, I suppose.
I became one of the top purchasers at Gucci.
What's your mental relationship with when you do content dressing more femininely?
Seeing myself in makeup and long hair feels so foreign these days.
That little fursuit meltdown.
That was silly.
Was there a frustration with people constantly talking about the Margo meme?
It's always, where's Margo? The asking where's Margo was turned into what happened to you?
People started to feel like asking for $4,000 was an overreach.
If I had the money to cover this by myself, I would have never made the GoFundMe.
All right, perfect. I think we're already ready to go. I wasn't expecting to be ready to go so quickly.
I have been sitting here for the last hour.
Okay.
Nervous.
Have you been dreading the conversation?
Last time I did something like this, I was 17, and like I did it with two guys named Pat and Alex, and I had Margo with me.
Okay.
So it's been many years since I've done an interview like this, so a little nervous. Just
no reason to be nervous.
Just
I'm assuming there was probably not as much controversy attached to the first conversation.
No, it was one of those joke interviews. They're like, herpetology, study of herpes. So it was like a whole joke thing.
Gotcha, yeah, because I know one of your names is like herps or something. I don't.
Yeah.
Like one of your alternate. Okay. All right, so really quick, before like the conversation part, I just want to let you know how I typically do like my content. I come on, I do whatever segments I'm going to do, yada yada yada. After I'm done, I put it on members only, and then I throw it over to my editor. They don't really do very much editing in the middle of it outside of audio glitches or whatever. It's mostly to have a nice intro for it, like a little teaser intro for it, and then they go through it for clips. So this should be posted tomorrow at 11 a.m. for both of our times because we're both EST. So after it's over, don't get nervous that I took it down or anything. I don't want you to freak out about that. And then as far as the conversation, I know you want an opportunity to chat about some of your controversy. And obviously, have a more well thought out response. I've been in this scenario where I've been in the scenarios where I've had controversy and I shoot from the hip and you make it worse, even if you're in the wrong, and then it also helps to take a little bit of time to let some of it wash over you so that you can let it settle in. So we're going to talk about that. I want to give you an opportunity. I'll probably give you a little pushback. I'm not looking for some kind of performative conversation though, where I'm trying to like dunk on you. But where I really want to start, I actually want to start with like getting to know you and the audience getting to know you as well. And I'm actually very curious about how people, especially younger people, dealt with COVID, especially as a creator, because I felt like that was an insane time for a lot of people. And so I really want to start there. I guess I'll start with, I know your name, but what's your name and what are your pronouns? Because that's also something I want the audience to know.
Yeah, so Roman Hawke, birth name is Riley. It's not anything, that offends me. It's just not a name I associate with anymore. So Riley Hawke, but I go by Roman Hawke and I use he, him.
Okay. I'm assuming you changed your name to Roman?
Mm-hmm.
That's not a bad one. I've talked to my wife before about if we have kids, and we have a trans kid, I want to name my trans kid. Like I want to rename them because you have some people with normal names like Roman or something, and then you have some people that have like moonshine water or something like that, something insane. And it's like, I have no problem having a trans kid. I don't want to have a kid that's named like Rainbow, Fluttershy or something. So
that's funny.
That's my only rule if I have a trans kid. Okay, so let's just get into it. What was your experience with COVID? Like when you made that Margo, very viral Margo, video, were you trying to be viral or was that just kind of you being silly?
So there's an entire kind of misunderstanding actually to that entire video. It started with a user called Gracie Just Gracie. And she started with, "Excuse me, my name is Gracie, not Stacy or Tracy or Lacey. Gracie Just Gracie." And then I saw two other people make their own versions. And then I realized, oh, this is probably going to be a trend. I would like to hop on this. So first take ever, I did, "Excuse me, her name is Margo, not Marco, Mango Wells Fargo." And then I just uploaded it. I was just like, okay, this is a trend. I was a very small account at the time. It was like, I had my first viral video just in like November of that year, of the last year. So 2019. So, very small account. I was like, trend, hopped on it, blew up overnight, and then it
Yeah.
all just started going boop, 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 boop from there.
Okay.
And I
Well,
was only 17.
yeah, that's crazy. That actually makes sense because I see some people being like, no, nobody probably even called the lizard Wells Fargo, and I'm like, yeah,
No,
probably not. But now it makes
no
sense.
one
You were
did.
just trying to rhyme for the song. That makes sense. Okay, so were you trying to get viral, or were you just trying to be silly? It sounds like you wanted to see if you can get something a little viral.
I mean, yeah, I guess it was one silly, two I realized oh I could rhyme with this, and then I guess ho- I guess everyone always hopes to get a viral video to be
Sure.
seen, you
Yeah.
know. So I just didn't expect it to be that one.
Yeah, that was
I
insane.
guess. Yeah.
How did you deal with like the mass? I mean, really massive. Even today, you look up like Margot lizard person, and it's just like insane on
Yeah.
YouTube. You have like tens of millions of views. How did you deal with that? Like, what were the feelings that you got when you first blew up with that video?
So at first, the first time that's ever happened to someone, you're a little scared because you see, oh, 10,000 views. Oh, 100,000 views. Oh my God, my first million views. And then you're realizing more and more people are seeing it. And then the more and more followers that come in, it starts to weigh on you that you have to start performing
Hmm.
in a sense. It's different for everyone, but for me, I was living with my grandmother. I had for like the last 10 years, and she was sort of my manager. So
Hmm.
she was the one trying to get me successful.
Okay.
So really the whole internet thing was more so her idea. I started it as a joke. But as
Okay.
soon as that video blew up, she's like, "You've got followers, you got people looking at you now. We're gonna turn this into profit." And I was like,
Okay.
"Okay."
So it's
So
so.
it
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, you're okay. But so it's trying to figure out like how to like properly word this.
Hmm.
She saw it as profit and to get me out there. So she was turned herself into like my manager and was constantly watching everything I did, views, comments I made.
Hmm.
So
Okay. Was that the intention from her to have you start doing content as a profit, or was it more of after you made a video, she's like, "Oh, I want to jump on this."
it she didn't care at first, but like I said, as soon as that video popped up, she jumped on it. She jumped on it immediately. She was the type of person, she was very successful in like her youth, but
Hmm.
she never made it. And she told me, this is like verbatim for her mouth, she was trying to get me to make it.
Okay.
So
So maybe.
she was help making me push out content, making sure I wasn't saying the wrong things as a kid. Um, all down those lines.
How did you like? What was your feelings associated with that? Like that potential pressure from your grandmother to succeed or perform, or
It was definitely a lot. Because I'm gonna do a little lore drop here. I did American Idol and I made it
oh,
through.
okay,
I made it through. But they did this whole email cutting people because they overcasted and whatnot. And she took that as my biggest failure. So then
interesting.
this happened, and she's like, "Now this is going to be your next thing."
Okay,
So then that pressure from one failure, the next failure, and now this, trying to make it work. Clearly now somewhat of another failure.
well, I don't know about that. I understand what you mean, but I don't know about that.
Yeah,
The,
there was
the
a lot of pressure
controversy
just to
isn't
do the right
necessarily
thing.
failure. Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say. So when you say that you're getting cut because there was too much bloat, I guess, on the American Idol was a failure. Was that her words, or was that your interpretation of what she had said?
It My interpretation, I did songs that, worked well with my voice, worked well with my character and me. Like, one of them was, the fucking "Ooby Doo, I wanna be like you, ooh, ooh," from
Okay,
Jungle Book on ukulele, and they loved it, that's what sold them. She hated that. She was like, "No, you're not gonna make it 'cause of this." But I
okay,
did,
that's interesting.
but then eventually got cut, so
Okay. I mean, it doesn't really sound like a failure to me. It sounds like a success with an unfortunate tone to it. But I mean, you got closer
yeah.
than most, you know?
That's how I should have taken it, but she took
Yeah.
it as, "You're
Okay.
never
So
doing music again."
there was some pressure that she would kind of place onto you a little bit.
A
Was
lot of
it
pressure.
was it like an active pressure that you felt battered with, or was it more of her true like her frustrations unintentionally kind of casting onto you?
I guess it's a mix of both because it was constant pressure. Sometimes I feel bad, but I have, like, recordings in my phone from 2019, 2020, 2021 of just her going at my throat for
Mm,
anything I did online, whether she liked it or not. If I said the wrong thing, I was completely screamed at. If I posted the wrong thing, screamed at. Commented the wrong thing, screamed at. Used a wrong audio with, say, some vulgar or something she didn't like, it was
yeah.
a problem. So I was constantly under pressure and under fire to do the right thing. And
Mm,
I couldn't really express myself because I was trying to express myself and she was turning it down and calling me awful, like white trash. She was calling me
okay.
all this nasty shit,
Was
honestly.
she particularly religious or anything like that, or it seems
The
like she was
woman
a
was
little.
low key Satanist.
Oh, okay, because it seems
I
like
was
she
like,
were some of the issues that she had around like language or something in the audios, or what was it that would she consider? What would she consider like a failure or a bad representation of yourself?
so I remember one specific video I made when I was still 17. It was a Childish Gambino audio. It was the one. Yes, my favorite rapper now. Yeah, dude, I better be. Now you can fucking kiss my ass, human centipede. And it was pertaining to people who, like, were my friend beforehand or weren't my friends beforehand. And then as soon as this happened, all of a sudden they want to be friends with me. They want to
Mm,
do all this with me. They want to hang out with me. And I was frustrated with this pattern I was noticing of people who used to hate me now suddenly want to be best friends with me, hang out all the time. So I made a video to that audio about it. Within the day, I was called downstairs and all hell broke loose.
interesting. Yeah, it sounds a little oppressive. I'll say because I,
Mm,
I don't, I, you know, I saw obviously the Margot video, but I haven't seen a lot of your other content, but I'll tell you, like I used to obviously have a lot of vulgar jokes and everything too. So
mhm.
fortunately for me, I was a little more, I had more autonomy over myself and agency over myself at that point.
Yeah,
Okay, so it sounds like there was a lot of stress. There was more stress than I would have expected to be associated with your content because I understand as a
yeah.
content creator how it can feel to have a big video and then not live up to that expectation in your next video or your next video after that.
Mhm.
And I feel like it's one of the biggest hurdles to get through is to realize that like you don't have to always be viral and that you can still be
Yeah,
very successful, especially since sometimes when you have these less viral videos, your closer fans like them more. At least that's been my experience. I'll have videos with fewer views, but my fans like it a lot more. The close ones that like come into the stream like it more, you know. And so it's never necessarily a failure. And then even if it is a failure, you get a little bit of feedback too.
yeah.
Um, okay, wow, yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot.
A lot of family issues tapped into the internet life as well, so it was all just
Mm,
like it's just it was a mix, a
okay.
lot of different things.
Are you comfortable with me asking why you were living with your grandma, or is that a topic you would just rather skip over?
I mean, it's something I've tried to explain to people multiple times, but people just like push it down. They're like, "Oh, that didn't happen," and I'm like,
Mm,
"I've." So basically, group. It's so stereotypical. I've never met my father.
okay,
He
yeah, same
walked
here.
out when my mom was like pregnant with me. He showed up when she was 9 months pregnant, about to give birth. Took the mattress under
Wow.
her bed. Dipped, never saw him again. We've reconnected recently though. But so my mom had me. It was just me and her. We were like house hopping most of my childhood because my mom couldn't have a stable job. She was a gymnastics coach. I was basically raised in a gym by other people, and then met my stepdad. Stepdad was not a good guy
Mm,
in the beginning, very physically, verbally, emotionally, mentally, financially abusive to my mother. And my mother was also in such a bad place that it was trickling on to me as a child. Then they were having kids, and then I was the step kid, just kind of getting mistreated, pushed to the side. Um, and I was in the middle. I was in what grade was I in? I was like in first or second grade. I got pulled out to the office, and there's cops, my mom, and my grandma. Uh, that's basically when my grandma took me, uh, tricked my mother into giving her custody, and I then was shipped off to Pennsylvania, lived with her for 2 years, then back to Alabama. So for like the next decade, I was in my grandparents' custody, and they refused to give my mother back custody, even when she finally got herself together. The relationship with my stepdad got better. The kids were growing up. She just still refused. Um, and then the end of it was when the Her Name Is Margot stuff was going on. I was still 17. I just graduated from being a junior. I was getting my first job. Sorry, it's all kind of like it's a little emotional. But I had two reptiles at the time, and I finally stood up to her, and I said one thing wrong, and she kicked me out. I finally
Interesting.
was like, I can't handle what you're doing. I can't handle what you're saying. I can't handle how I'm treated anymore. She said, all right, get out. So that was finally when I got to go live back with my mother for my
Okay.
last year of high school.
Okay, and that's when you were 17, I'm assuming, right?
17 and then turned 18 and then
Okay.
yeah, high school.
Well, that's actually a lot. It's interesting because I have a similar, very at the start similar, where like
Mhm,
my father left my mother while she was pregnant. They were married and everything, and then 5 months in, he pretended to come back and blah blah blah. And then I was birthed, and then he disappeared again.
mhm.
Fortunately for me, my mother never dated after that. Like so that's very interesting though. Okay, so there's a lot there. What made you inevitably leave and move out on your own, or when did you move out onto your own? And what made you go to like? Because you went to New York, didn't you?
Yeah, so this ties into I did see watch some of your videos before I, DM'd you and contacted you
Hmm.
about the OF stuff. Um, that was I had like quit my job, the one that I had over the summer because I was going back into school. 18, noticed people, were like, my body, whatever the
Right.
heck. Started that, made a good decent chunk of money, bought my first car with the first chunk of money, and I just kept saving all that money I had, and I was dating this one guy at the time, not together, broke up like 3 years ago. Um, I was dating this guy at the time in New York, and I saved up all that money I made to go move up there with him and his family, finally start my adult life. So I inevitably moved out 3 days after graduating high school.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Was that like a very romanticized, like I'm gonna go live with my I'm assuming boyfriend at
Yeah.
the time and this, and there was a lot
Not
of
a yeah,
yeah,
not a good
okay.
choice
Very
during
that's a very
unwise.
young decision to make. We've all been there in some capacities.
Yeah, definitely shouldn't have done that. I have a lot of financial regrets, a lot of young decision making regrets. So,
Yeah,
no,
I
that's
mean,
23, so I finally grew up mentally a good
yeah.
chunk.
Well, you said you're about to be 23.
August 9th, I'll be 23.
Well, okay, congratulate. Well, August 9th. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
soon. They're very good. I'll tell you, I kept maturing until I was like 30, so I don't know if I'm just immature or something. So you always keep learning. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Like stepping back for a second to the content,
Mhm.
there was a moment, like obviously during COVID, there was an insane amount of views to go around. People were home,
Yeah.
they weren't working, they were very charged up. There was a lot of politics and stuff, which I don't want to get into. But there was a moment where people started going back to work and the views started to slip. And I don't know if that's something that you noticed, like views just going down. Um, for your content, if you did notice it, like how did you interact with like all of a sudden kind of like that surge of views that was going around for everybody kind of starting to trickle down?
I got a little, I will admit, I was a bit self-centered, selfish, when this first happened. So and especially, with the pressure for my grandmother, like I had said, if I had if I had a post that was under 100K likes,
Hmm.
I'd have to delete it.
Wow.
If it had 600 like 60,000 likes, delete it. 90K likes, delete it. So
What was 100? What, like why 100K like specifically? What was is that just like your arbitrary number you came up with?
it was what she wanted on my page.
Ah, okay.
She only wanted like successful videos, and I believed it too. I was like, yeah, yeah, I should only have successful videos. So I went along with it. Still a kid, just going along with what the guardian, the parent said.
Did that frustrate you when you'd have to delete videos, or you know?
At the time, no. I guess at the time, because I was very self-centered at that time, so I was like, "Yeah, no, I have to have the best videos up." So
Right.
it didn't upset me as much, but looking back on it, I definitely should have saved those videos.
Yeah,
Some of them
something
were pretty
that's
funny,
maybe a little
pretty good.
different
Yeah.
interpretation of you. All right, so it didn't necessarily upset you deleting them. Did it upset you that you felt like you had to delete them, like that you were, or
At the
did?
time, no.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. I mean, that's a good
Not
thing,
that
I guess. I
much.
suppose.
Yeah, so not yeah, so just not at the time, but now in the future, I'm like, "Dang, kinda
Yeah,
sucks."
it's like you kind of got rid of
Had
a
to
little
do
bit, like
that.
almost like a photo album type of a thing. Yeah, it's kind of. Yeah, I get that. Sometimes I feel that
Yeah,
way because obviously my first TikTok is gone, but maybe it's for the better. I've had my cringe moments too, so I'm almost lucky that it's gone.
have
Um,
a good handful.
when you when you blew up,
Mhm.
um, I'm assuming that you didn't necessarily want to do adult content. That wasn't like the goal of blowing up, right? Or was it in there from the start? Like, oh, maybe I'll move it into this, or how did you get to the point of doing like TikTok trends to making adult content?
So it's two separate things technically for me. There's more lore to this kind of triggering topics of SA, um, molestation from family members. After all that, I've always been a very hypersexual person, and it's trickled on into like relationships to school. And I always said, even if I never blew up, I was still gonna do that anyways, because it's kind of who I am as a person. It's
Hmm.
part of me. So whether or not I got big on the internet or not, OF, all this other stuff, that was going to happen anyways.
Okay, so
I was gonna go down
something
that road.
something in the lane of some kind of adult content was a direction for you. Okay, well I guess it's a good
Yeah.
thing OnlyFans blew up then, because it seems like it's a little more safer for the creator to give a little bit more
Mhm.
agency over your stuff. That's
Even a bit
interesting
more
because I
protection.
would have assumed that you were gonna go for it regardless.
A lot of people didn't, but
Yeah.
I did.
Wow.
I
Okay.
knew.
Because I think I saw a video where you were kind of expressing a frustration with creating adult content at a certain point, and I wanted to
Yeah.
like I had assumed, obviously unjustifiably, but I had assumed that you felt pressured to do OnlyFans or adult content in general, and then you were getting like a distress associated with it because you never wanted to do it. But was that video like? Did you, from what I remember correctly, did you actually express like a frustration like doing adult content? Is that
Definitely expressed frustrations with it before, and I know I have. It's more of the mental toll, because there's highs and lows with it. You can get a really good post, you can get really good subs for 1 month, you can get a whole lot of money, but then one thing goes wrong, or like you don't perform correctly or enough, and you can lose up to 2 grand.
hmm,
Like I didn't. I had a back injury, like severely bad, back in what was it, 2022? Yeah, like around 2021, 2022, and I couldn't really work for months on end because I couldn't stand, I couldn't crawl, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't do like anything on my own. My back was basically broken. I lost tens of thousands of dollars
interesting?
in work because I physically couldn't. So that was probably one of the times I expressed some aggravation, some
Okay,
what was it?
that
Yeah.
makes maybe it was around that time that you expressed that.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I guess I'll ask around something in like the field of like, what was your best month? Because I saw some TikToks of you, especially from years ago, where you were expressing that you might have made something around $1 million in a year. Was that
I can
accurate?
Yeah, I can pull up my statistics right
All
now. I
right, well,
won't
if you want
earn
to.
it to show. I'll pull up my statistics. My best month ever, and this
Mhm.
was right as I was graduating high school, actually. I made, hold on, that's the cue. Teehee. Statements. So grossed in total from, when did I start? September 2020 all the way up until now is 1.8
Million.
into like over the last
Is that
5
just
years.
OnlyFans?
Yes.
Okay.
Um, but my best month that I ever had was, what is this? March 2021, 174,000 in only 1 month. And that
Wow.
was like, I was still 18 years old. I was much, much skinnier. I'm
Hmm.
a bigger guy.
Yeah.
Much, much skinnier, very feminine, very little tattoos. So,
Okay.
and then
Interesting.
it's been going down
Sure,
from there. So
I
yeah,
could see. Yeah, no, I mean that's just kind of generally how it is in general. I understand that. Okay, but that's
yeah.
still an impressive. It's an impressive
It
month.
was
Um,
crazy. I couldn't even believe it.
I guess a weird question: do you,
Of course.
after this controversy happened, and we're gonna get into the more specifics of it, but like after it just happened and started to surge, did you see like a influx of kind of money?
I thought it was so messed up, honestly. I'm like, I just lost the biggest part of my life and y'all
Mhm.
wanna see me naked? I was
Yeah.
like, "What?" Um, my revenue, okay, so that was June. I went up about 200 subs
Wow.
since her
Across the board,
passing,
or just like on one?
just just on one site.
Gotcha. Okay. That's quite a
Um,
bit. I mean, what's the, I guess, monthly amount on that specific site you're talking about?
it fluctuates, so it's roughly around 7. 7.5,
Okay.
which for me, get a little personal here. My rent is 4,300, and I pay it all out of my pocket myself.
Hmm. Yeah, because well, you
So,
live in New York, right? So it's very expensive.
mhm,
it's,
like,
it's a rough
I have
time.
people coming to tour the place today.
Hmm.
So that takes 4.3 grand out of that 7, and then there's the bills on top. That takes a ton. We have to get groceries. We have to do laundry. Like, we have 2 huge laundry bags right there to feed the animals. So all of that just weighs in and takes
Yeah.
everything I make
No, I
every
know
month.
it's I
Yeah.
can appreciate it. It's very
Yeah.
expensive. Fortunately for me, my wife and I live with my in my mother-in-law's house. We pay all the bills for it, but we don't. It's not quite as even as expensive as that.
That's
So
great
we're
though.
we're we're very very fortunate. But I understand how
Yeah.
bills can really creep up on you.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess it's probably fair to ask maybe there might
Go right
be
ahead.
areas where you haven't been as financially responsible, I suppose, or efficient as you could have been, especially as like a young person.
Yeah, I can definitely admit a lot of financial faults, and I'm very honest, about my spending. So, of course, the taxidermy, that was a huge factor in 2022, 2021, 2022. I spent way, way, way too much money on dead animals. And
Okay,
I know one of the main things people are upset about is that fossil. That
I
fossil I
heard of a
got for like,
fossil. What is the fossil? You don't have to show it if you don't want to, but what is the
oh, yeah, it's
fossil?
it's in another room. It's a full-bodied Claudiosaurus, and I'm an
Okay,
absolute dinosaur like, it's on my phone case. I'm an absolute dinosaur
yeah,
fanatic. So, I had a good chunk of money in my savings, and honestly, that 13K didn't even make a dent in my savings at the
yeah.
time. I
Is that
was
how much it costs to get that? $13,000.
13,600.
Okay,
So,
wow.
and the person who sold it to me hand delivered it to me. So, yeah, people were mad about that, even though I bought it over 4, going on 5 years ago.
Hmm.
So that was a big financial no-no I shouldn't have done. I had so much other taxidermy, crystals. I had this idea in my head that I was gonna be bougie
Okay.
because I've never had money before, never was bougie. I became one of the top purchasers at Gucci, like up there with
Okay.
Jeffree Star,
Wow.
members of BTS. I became one of their like diamond members. I was
Okay. I don't
spending
even know what that
so
is.
much
That's
money at Gucci.
how much you have to spend to be a diamond member at Gucci.
Good lord, I don't even I know
You
one
must.
day I walked out
What?
and I had spent close to 8 grand
Wow.
on a handful of pieces, and I am selling them. I've sold a lot of them. I've actually donated a few
Yeah.
pieces,
Is there decent
but,
resale value on that?
mm,
Or
I was selling them, actually on Instagram for, like, a couple hundred off, maybe a grand off. I was
mm,
like, "This is Gucci, and I can prove it's Gucci. I have the receipts,
yeah.
but here's a discounted price," and it's basically brand new and not used.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
I can appreciate spending incorrectly. I'm not quite,
yeah.
my wife and I thankfully don't have like those types of tastes like dinosaur fossils and Gucci. But like we are big Disney nerds and we have a lot of like lounge fly bags and stuff, and so we could have been spending a little bit better. Um,
Mhm.
you know, but not quite like that. But I understand, especially as a young person, and like I guess that's another question: is like how is it as a young person making ridiculous amount of money? I mean, you said what your best month was like $170,000, right? What is
It
that
was
like for like an
insane.
18-year-old? Like, what's going through your head?
So, growing up, like I told you, growing up, we mom didn't have the best, stepdad didn't have the best. I had never, ever even seen like $500 before. I've never got to like buy things for myself. All things for me as a kid came from grandparents,
Hmm.
other family members. Mom was doing like pay in fours, pulling out loans to take us to places we wanted to go. So I am this 18-year-old with like $50,000 or more in my bank account. And I'm like, here, mom, here's $10,000. Please, I'm like, save this. I've given my mom thousands and thousands of dollars to help her. So now I have this big chunk of money and I'm living in New York.
Mm,
I'm like, oh, let's get some things I have never thought I could have before in my life. And that's kind of where it started, was just
okay.
doing things for me. And then, of course, all those financial purchases of for me
Yeah, it really
were
adds up.
irresponsible purchases.
Did you, when you were making a lot of money, did you think that that was just how it was always going to be, or was there something in your head that said like, "Oh, maybe I should prepare or the, just generally speaking, for most people, the potential drop in, because when it comes to any creator stuff, the potential drop.
So yeah, I knew it wasn't going to be a forever thing. And I knew it would dwindle out eventually. I just
Mhm.
didn't, time flies by so fast. It feels like only about a year ago I started. So the first 2 years were really good. Third year started moderately going down, and then these last 2 years is when it went boom.
Yeah.
And I'm making like just enough to get by. I
Okay.
did try to prepare. My ex's father, he was trying to get me into a savings thing for retirement,
Yeah.
but I was very, very stubborn at like 18, 19. I was like, no, I'll be fine.
That's
I'll
typically
be
how it is.
fine.
Yeah.
I got it. I was not fine. I do not got it. So,
Are you
uh,
are you dreading moving? Are you moving back in with your parents? Is that what you're doing, or your mother?
I'm
Or
actually moving back into the same neighborhood. It's a
okay.
brand new subdivision. So my mom's like up here. You go down the road and there's a little loop
Mhm.
neighborhood. They're technically apartments, but they're single person homes. I got approved. I signed my lease. So I'll be in the same neighborhood, but spending roughly like $2,300 less.
Wow, that's quite a bit of money. That's really good.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
I have I guess a little bit of a personal question. You don't have to answer it if you
Yeah.
don't want to, but I am just like genuinely curious.
Okay.
When you do content, are you presenting more femininely usually?
It's actually a split down the middle 50-50 because of course, I can't change how my body look I can't change my anatomy.
Hmm.
I can edit it. I have, because trans men, they have packers and stuff, so fake, genitals that we
Gotcha.
can
Okay.
use
It took me.
to,
I was like Packer.
present.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like fake, male genitals to use to create that illusion, so half the time, I'll do something feminine if I wanna put on makeup. I don't feel comfortable wearing makeup anymore like I used to,
Hmm.
so I have, like, wig, makeup, whatever, or if I'm not liking how I'm looking here, but I don't wanna look at that, that's when the masks come in.
Oh,
That's when I just put on one, take some photos.
like a
You
furry
know,
mask. Okay.
I'll just put
Gotcha.
it on to cover my face because I don't wanna show my face. I'm not really feeling how I'm looking.
Hmm.
And then there's fully masked content where I'll bind my chest. I'll probably have one of the members on, and I look like this. So
Okay.
kind of depending on how I feel is how I post.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I was gonna ask like what's your I guess mental relationship with when you do content dressing more femininely? Like is there some kind of an issue with that or is it any frustrations or anything?
Sometimes it's more of like I like my body, but just seeing myself in makeup and long hair feels so foreign these days. Because I do drag. I've done drag queen. I've done drag king. Like when I'm in drag queen, that's fully different. That is a character I'm like portraying. But when it comes to that kind of work, it almost feels like people want to see that more,
Hmm.
and I feel like I have to look that way. So then I'll try to like work on my mental and do something more masculine. But sometimes it doesn't have like the same outcome as looking like a woman. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I could
it's
see
a
how
back and forth
there's
mental thing of they want me to look like this, they don't accept me like this, look like this. It's just a back
yeah, I
and
can
forth.
imagine that's probably not like super fun for you.
Mm-mm,
Do you have like
not all the
a
time.
like a long term plan of what you potentially want to do moving forward, potentially even disconnecting from doing adult content?
I'm actually really excited. As you know, I'm absolutely covered in tattoos. I've done like a few myself. When I move home, I have about three or four different options of what exactly I want to do. The first one is becoming a tattoo apprentice and actually starting tattoo work, or being a piercer because I've got facial piercings, or along the lines of my work, working at an adult shop because I'm very, very knowledgeable in that field. And then the last thing is, I live by a shop. I'm gonna be living by this shopping center, and there's an axe throwing place, and I want to,
Interesting. Okay.
it's like a rage room axe throwing.
Okay.
So
That's
I
why
feel
that
like I
one's
could get
more
out. Yeah,
that one's somehow more unique. I was like, okay, the first three make sense, and it's like, oh, actually,
yeah.
okay. Have you considered like doing taxidermy, or is that something that you wouldn't want to get into?
It is, but it would be more of I wouldn't be able to do that where I
Mm,
live because, if you're tanning, that smells really bad. If you're curing hides, that smells kind of bad. You're using the beetles to clean the skeletons, that doesn't
interesting.
always smell great. And
I can
where I'm
imagine.
living, it's very much of a I don't want to say uppity neighborhood, but they got pickleball.
Okay. Okay. So like, what is it, like a weird rich neighborhood kind of a thing?
Sort of.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
middle class. There's some higher, richer people in the neighborhood. Uh, but yeah, I
Okay.
wouldn't be able to probably get away with doing taxidermy in my home.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. And then you're moving to a more, I guess, that's what you're saying. You're moving there, or you live in a more bougie-ish place now?
Right now I'm just in the middle of Bushwick, Brooklyn.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
Shared backyard with everyone in the building, shared roof with everyone's next to each other.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I wouldn't even be able to do it here.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, it's funny because as we were talking, it's that you did like for the American Idol. You said American Idol before, right?
Mhm.
That your song was like Jungle Book.
Yeah.
I giggled a little bit because I'm like, oh, you do, obviously, you're a furry. I think that's how you say it, like or you dress as a
Yeah.
furry or whatever it is. I'm just curious about like, wow, like like what happened? Why is that something that you like
What
to
happened?
do? Yeah, like what
Why did
happened?
you
Like
do
what is
that?
it? Like just what the hell is that? Yeah, what's your
So
relationship
so
with being
how
a furry?
how I got there,
Yeah, sure.
basically?
Yeah, like just give me the whole insight. I'm very curious.
It's so in, like, middle school, so I'm an artist as well. So in middle school, I was in, like, advanced art classes, and I was, like, 7th, 8th grade, I did that, and there was this kid in the class always drawing these cute little, like, cats, but standing up, and I was like, "What's that? What's that right there?" And they're like, "Oh, this is my fursona," and I was like, "You're what?
Oh,
What's that?"
okay. So they were a furry when they were like a child. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm still friends with this person, actually. They're so sweet. I'm still friends to this day with this person. And they were like, "It's a little character based off myself." So I put characteristics of me into this little character and I just draw it and I want to make a little costume of it. And I was like, I want to try that. So in this art class, I took a little canvas and I made myself into this like deer so I have this white spot in my hair
Okay.
that only grows white hair. So I incorporated
Interesting.
that into the deer. So I had this little deer with little horns and hair with the big white streak that I had in my hair. And I was like, that's my first donut. And they're like,
Okay.
okay.
Do you still have the deer stuff, or
No, I don't.
you moved on? Because I saw
Uh,
I saw one of the costumes you were wearing, or fursuits, when I know
mm,
there's like there was an interaction or a response you made and then you deleted it.
yeah,
I saw that was an
I'm so
interesting.
embarrassed.
That one was. I was at some point going to ask you, like, how do you feel after you put that up and then you pulled that one down? Like,
Oh,
how did
I'm.
that little fursuit melt down? What was up with that? What happened there?
Oh my god, I was just genuinely so upset. Like, the response I got from her death was really something I did not expect,
Mm,
especially to be blamed for it. So I was in the trenches from the 20th up until like the beginning of July. I was mentally not here. I was angry. I was angry at everyone. And then I wasn't, and people took this as like, you don't shower. Because I was so depressed.
I
I was
remember,
so,
yeah, you mentioned that you haven't showered in a while, so you put the
yeah,
fursuit on, which now
even
makes
like
it kind of
3 days.
makes sense more that we talked about it and how you said you'd put the
Yeah.
fursuit on when you do your adult content when you're not feeling particularly confident in some capacity. So now it does make
Yeah.
more sense. Yeah.
So I put it on and just ranted. Oh god, do I regret ranting. I was more so trying to explain things, explain my frustrations, explain what was going on and how like uh, 90% of the shit people were saying, I was like, this isn't correct. Please,
Mhm.
like this is what happened. This, and they just pointed and laughed and I was like, maybe I shouldn't have put the head on. That was silly. So
Yeah,
I deleted
yeah.
it. But of course
I
people screen recorded it.
It seemed like at first when Margot had passed away, you did have a lot of positive reception, and it seemed like
Mhm.
the turning point really was once people started to feel like asking for $4,000 was an overreach, and they got frustrated with that. And then it's one of those things where
Yeah.
when it rains, it falls, and And the
Oh
internet's
god.
always, you never get proportionate criticism. It's always disproportionate. And it can be
Mhm.
difficult sometimes to find the reasonable criticism inside of that disproportionate criticism. And I do understand that. Do you
Yeah.
understand why people were frustrated with you asking money?
100%.
Yeah.
No, I get it, cause I mean, like, that's an outrageous price, but people were taking it as just cleaning the bones and cremation. It was
Mm-hmm.
never just those 2 things, because just those 2 services for that price, yeah, please call me out. That would have been ridiculous, but as you saw the rundown sheet I posted, that was for necrosis autopsy, that was for testing, that was services, that was paying for shipping, paying for the shipping back because it has to be overnight.
Mm-hmm.
Margot actually gets shipped out tomorrow because we were doing this today. I have viewings today, and they sent me last week the address. So, eh. So she's going out tomorrow. I'm really excited, and she'll be coming back, after my move. But yeah, of course, I mean, the price, I can understand why people would be upset, but it was the calculations of everything leading up.
Mm-hmm.
And also, GoFundMe takes quite a pretty chunk of whatever you make because the three that I got, the 3K,
Mm-hmm.
they took about, I deleted it already, but I'm trying to remember what last number I saw. It was roughly $330 if that was taken. So if you get up to the four, that's probably another 200 taken, and then boom, I'm only left with that 35,
Mm-hmm.
which covers everything. So I was like, okay, taking fees out, got to round up, and
Okay.
people just kept getting mad.
Yeah, I think one of the things that people were frustrated about was at least historically you've done very well financially, and I think that
Yes.
one of the kind of thoughts for people when somebody asks for money in some capacity is that usually you'll ask for money if you need it, and I'm not saying you don't need it. And
Yeah, I
then
get
they
that.
saw that, and then they saw you, when you're younger, bragging, and I get it. I've bragged about my income too. Like it's
Mhm.
stupid, it's immature, but I've done it, and I'm older than you.
Yeah.
And then you do that, and then you kind of eat your words there.
Yeah.
Um, and they looked at that and they said, "Well, it doesn't seem like you actually need any money to do this."
Mhm.
What is your interaction with or your response to people saying that?
So, of course, all the money I've made in total, and I've listed off all the things, that I have paid for, the taxes, all the insurance stuff. Like, there's so many factors, so many, like, adult reasons, bad financial reasons, and moving reasons as to where the money has gone. Um, but I can fully understand, especially with those old videos I used to post. And in my defense, this is an excuse. In my defense, the only reason I would post and brag about the income is because people told me it wasn't a real job. You're not
Okay.
making any money. You can't sustain on this. And I'm like, but look how much I've made. And I'm
Yeah.
sustained and I'm living. So it was more of a, you're wrong, look what I'm doing type of thing, in my youth. But so I can definitely get why people are saying that. But as I have said in not retaliation, but like in truth, if I had the money to cover this by myself, I would have never made the GoFundMe.
Yeah.
I would have dealt with it myself. I would have paid for everything out of pocket. But in the situation I'm moving. I have to pay this last month's rent. I'm not getting my security deposit back because water's now leaking from a ceiling light in your roof.
Hmm.
I needed some sort of help, and it backfired
Yeah, I could see it
in my
a
face.
little bit. I do understand the idea where people are like, "Oh, you're like a big loser or whatever." You don't,
Mhm.
and I've responded, and it's not a good idea either. Like even now, some people are like, "Oh, you fell off," which is like one of the most fucking annoying things ever.
It
The
is.
the constant you fell off, and it's so funny. And I lean on my wife when stuff like that happens. I'm like, I want to respond and just show like what I'm making right now, and she's like, just it doesn't matter. You just stop being stupid. I was like,
Yeah,
okay, because you're
definitely
so
shouldn't have done that.
yeah, you're so tempted to be like, oh, like this is my best year, and here you could show,
Mhm,
I understand that. Okay, so obviously we're gonna get more into like the Margot situation, and some of the
mhm.
questions might be a little. I'm not, I'm trying. They're gonna probably be a little sensitive because
That's okay.
Margot was your. Well, I mean, you've mentioned that Margot was your daughter, which is interesting to me.
Yeah,
At first I was like, that feels a little disrespectful, but then I have like my mother thinks that her fucking dogs are her children, so
yeah,
I get it to an extent. So I guess we'll kind of start with Margot in general. Like, just when did you get Margot?
So I got Margot on September 22nd of 2018. And
Okay.
I remember that specifically because everyone made jokes of the 21st night of September, but I got her the day after. So I like should have gotten her day before. So we made little jokes. Um so Margot came from a reptile expo. And this is where the bad decisions started. I'm 16 years old. My grandparents drive me to Navarre, Florida. We're going to a reptile show, and as we park, my grandmother goes, "Okay, you can get something." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So no planning, no research done ahead, and I can fully admit fall to that. I'll admit when I'm wrong. So I walk into this reptile convention. I'm looking at spiders. I'm looking at leopard geckos. I'm looking at snakes. And there was only
Spiders?
one I like tarantulas.
Okay.
I was like, "Hey, there's one
Interesting.
right up there. I like
Yeah.
tarantulas,
Okay. Yeah.
cool."
Now I noticed it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I go to the very back, and I see this big, burly dude with the most massive bearded dragon I've ever seen in my life, and it explains a lot about Margot.
Hmm.
So this guy, huge, right, has a bearded dragon from his shoulder, so the tip of the snout, and this dragon goes all the way to like the bottom of this dude's belly.
Wow.
Biggest lizard, and like bearded dragon, they don't get humongous, but this one was massive. And I'm talking to the guy, and he's like, "Yeah, so this is the breeder male, so that was the father to all of the babies."
Hmm.
And Margot was the only female left. And so I'm looking at it, I'm like, "I want this one. $100. Get her. We get her. We get all of her set up, everything there. I name her in the car. Honestly, the name just kind of came to me. Went home, set everything up, and I still didn't do my research.
Hmm.
So young me was feeding her crickets whenever she's so pleased. I thought that they would stop eating when they're full. No,
Oh, they
she
just
was a
keep eating,
bottomless
huh?
pit.
Yeah. Well, that's like me too, right? Yeah.
Yeah, me too. It's just so I mean, I did my research as time went on. I realized, oh, this thing doesn't work, and then she was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Hmm.
And then I realized I was like, oh, this animal's obese. This isn't
Yeah.
okay. So,
Did your
you know,
grandparents help you at all, or was this kind of like this is your
so
thing, almost like an
yeah,
exercise in responsibility, like raise a thing, and is that what how it was more?
sort of. I mean, of course, they helped me with getting her food because I was still 16 at the time. I didn't have a job. I could drive to the store myself, but they would give me the money to do so. Um, they would give me money to, sorry, little fly. They would give me the money to upgrade as I needed. Um, so they wouldn't give me the money to upgrade the tank size until I made that money. So Margot was in
Okay.
a 40-gallon from when I got her up until I was like 17 and got my first like TikTok money.
Yeah.
So I got her massive new enclosure. Then it was honestly just kind of the same throughout there. Margot's fat. Enclosures gradually getting upgraded. Her diet was changing. I was, feeding her less, incorporating more vegetables, incorporating like bee pollen. That's very good for them. They love bee pollen.
Hmm.
Um, and then it came to me moving out and with Margot, and that's when the weight loss really started. So that's when I really cracked down on her. I was like, okay, we're gonna have on and off days, and I'll make sure it's like she was flushing out waste or like going to the bathroom, making sure that was out of her system before I fed her again. So making sure she got exercise. I was taking her outside a lot. I was letting her free roam, which is letting them run around the room to get exercise. I would toss a bug across the room and make her chase it to go get it. So I was trying to get her exercise through there too. And finally, she got all that weight down, but there was still a lot. There was still something there.
Hmm.
And then we get to the surgeries. So I'm like sitting at my desk at my last apartment playing a game. Margot's allowed to free roam. I didn't realize that one of my earrings had fallen on the floor. And so I hear this crunch, look down, Margot's eats an earring.
Hmm.
I freak out. And at like 11 p.m., I rush into Manhattan, and I still have the x-ray actually from the vet's office of So I didn't realize she had an earring and 2 nostril studs all at the
Oh,
same
wow.
time. Yeah, so I was like, "What the what are you doing?" So I take her in because I'm afraid these are gonna harm her. So I was
Yeah.
already prepared for
I mean, I
surgery
would
if she
imagine
needed
they
it.
would, you
I was
know.
already prepared for surgery financially if she needed it. But they assured me they said she was gonna pass these normally, it's not gonna obstruct anything, but in the X-ray, they noticed so bearded dragons do not have uterus, it's an
Mhm.
oviduct, but
Okay.
uterus is that's people get mad about that term. Bearded dragons don't
Yeah,
have a
I was
uterus.
gonna ask you about that because people had said that. I'm
Yeah,
assuming it was
it's an
just easier to
oviduct.
say uterus since
Yeah,
it, okay.
it was just easier to say, and people got mad at me about that. But an oviduct, since like birds, it's all one exit. It's all one exit. So where the eggs are, what had happened is she developed unfertile eggs that she was refusing to lay.
Mhm.
Those eggs then stayed inside of her and just rotted. So it caused that oviduct to go completely septic and get infected. So that infection there inflamed, making her look fat. That infection then spread to the tail, and about this much of her tail was completely dead,
Hmm.
just like stiff as a board, dead. So when they came back and told me, hey, this is septic, this needs to be removed immediately or she is going to die, immediately took her into surgery. I have the photo that the vet took of them removing the septic oviduct, and they amputated half of her tail.
Wow.
And I was very, very scared she was gonna die because my friend Rebecca, she had a bearded dragon named Pico. That was another famous bearded dragon on TikTok. The most famous thing was strawberries for Pico. It was a very famous like little trend song. Pico died from a very similar surgery. She also had complications and she passed, so I was terrified Margo was gonna die from these surgeries, but she she survived and she lived another 3, 4 years after that. So after that, she lost all that weight. And sorry, I'm yapping so much,
No,
but
I'm listening. You're fine.
But like unlike us and like some other animals, reptiles don't retract loose skin. If you have an obese reptile
Mhm.
and it loses weight, the skin is not going to retract. So Margot had this loose skin that made the illusion that she was still obese, but if you held her up, her stomach was flat. It was just the sides had the
Yeah.
loose skin. So Margot was completely a healthy weight upon her passing. People say I fed her to death. No, that didn't happen. She was not fed to death. She lost all that weight and then she was starting to lose too much weight. I was expressing concern to my partner. I was like, "Hey, Margot's fat pads are like really sunken in. I'm starting to see her spine. Like I'm really worried about her." And then the day of our 1 year anniversary, I took a photo of Margot. She was really bright yellow, like Pikachu bright yellow.
Mhm.
And I was like, "Oh, you're so pretty." I picked her up. She was stiff as a board.
Oh, is that when she had
Um,
passed?
and she had passed the morning of my 1 year anniversary with my partner.
Hmm.
And that's that's where everything just kind of went downhill.
Yeah, that's a tough surprise. My wife's aunt just passed on like her birthday, so it's like,
Mhm.
it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm sorry for your loss. Did I have a question though? Did the tail and the loose skin impact Margot's mobility from that point on?
Actually, no, she was moving a lot better. I mean, the skin wasn't an issue. Um, the issue when she was fat, belly dragging on the floor.
Hmm.
But with her tail, I don't think it inhibited anything because she still had a nice good chunk of it. Because my other lizard guppy, she's in the living room. When she walks, her tail is off the ground and like curved upwards.
Hmm.
Margot's would just
Okay.
drag behind her.
Yeah, I was only asking because like I remember
Yeah.
there was a point, I think it might have been that the first suit video, um, where you had mentioned that like Margot didn't like to be mobile.
Mm-mm. She's
And
very
so
lazy.
okay, yeah, and so that's I was gonna ask because it seems like with the way you're talking, like you started out, she was in a small enclosure. Um, you know, maybe she didn't necessarily have the opportunity to be mobile, but then it made you seemed like she let her free roam. Did she free roam a lot, or did she just kind of like hang out and?
She just really walked around the room, and when she was done, she would hide under my dresser, she would try to go under my bed, or she would just try to go under a blanket. She never tried to climb things, and that's something people like to tell me I'm wrong about,
Mhm.
is that I never gave her opportunities to climb, but I did. I gave her many opportunities. Um, she would get up maybe about halfway and then just stay halfway. She never wanted to be, like, all the way up on my shoulder. She wanted to be, like, somewhere nestled in, maybe inside the collar. But she never was a climber. Like I said, my other lizard guppy, she's only 3. She will climb she'll climb a mountain. She will climb up anything. She tries to climb walls, but Margot never did. She just wanted to lay down, she wanted to cuddle with you. She'd walk around, but she was never incredibly active,
That
even with
makes
given opportunity.
it makes sense to me, especially since you said you started and like Margo was with you when you were with your grandmother. You had said, and so maybe even if they would have wanted to climb more, by the time they got to a space where they could have done more, it was
Mhm.
like a learned behavior to maybe not be as mobile. Do you think that there could have been more ideal circumstances
Oh,
with Margot?
100%.
Well, excuse me, with Margot.
Yeah. Um, there was like I said, she was my first ever real responsibility that I had to take care of myself. It's like having your first child. Like my mom said she was still learning with me. I was still learning with Margot. So with the feedings, I definitely that should have been more researched in my youth. Um, her tank setup when we first got her, it was ideal for her size.
Hmm.
But the bigger she got, it should have been updated within 6 months of having her instead of a year.
Okay.
So, um, and then it was a learning curve with substrates because Margot was trying to eat. She would try to eat rocks. She would try to eat walnut sand. Never use
Mm,
actual sand for reptiles unless it's like a sand boa or for the species. But she would try to eat that. She would try to eat pellets. She would try to eat wood chips. She was trying to eat fake plants. So it was like making sure she couldn't get these things that would kill her if
yeah.
she ate them. So I was really just trying to keep her safe and learn what was good, what was not. Um, and a lot of people just still didn't like it. I was trying not to put my entire life on the internet, but at that
Oh,
point,
that's
people
kind
wanted to
of
know everything.
yeah. It can be difficult,
Yeah.
especially if you're like big for being you. Setting boundaries for people is one of the hardest things to do as a
Yeah.
content creator. I understand that. Yeah, because to me, after everything, I heard everything and I sat down, especially what you're saying now. It sounds like you got this Liz, you got Margot when you were very young, 16.
Mhm.
You were for the most part left to kind of raise it yourself. Your grandparents probably looked at it as like, hey, this will be good for your responsibility.
Mhm.
And there probably, well, definitely could have been more ideal circumstances, but it's one of
Mhm.
those things where you probably did the best that you could do as a child raising a lizard,
Yeah.
so that makes sense. Yeah, because I know one of the things people I looked into it. I think the life expectancy is like on the lower end how old Margot was, and on the higher end, like I think it's like 7 to 15 years. So,
Yeah.
but that makes sense. Do you? I mean, yeah, I mean that just makes sense. I guess I know that she passed from cancer, right?
Mhm.
Were you able to detect that, or that just kind of happened and you didn't even realize that she was developing
Not I
cancer?
Not a clue. They said it happened so rapidly that,
Hmm.
like, there unless I had brought her in, like, a month prior, it was just inevitable to she was fine a month prior. It only looked bad in the last week of right before her passing, and I was like, "I'm concerned," and then it just happened
Yeah, that makes
without
sense.
any warning.
I had a dog that like the exact same thing. Like I love that dog, and then all of a sudden he just didn't want to be around me anymore. And then we brought him to the vet. He had like horrible cancer, and they're like, yeah, he's just trying to like walk away and die. Like that's kind of like what he's doing. So I understand that it can happen very quickly, very quickly.
Mhm,
The taxidermy thing that it's a
mhm.
little strange to me.
That's
So
okay.
I do want to ask about because obviously you're very close to Margot. Uh, what's your relationship with taxidermying Margot? I imagine there's some kind of immortalization there, or because it's just very bizarre to me, and so I'm curious about like what's your take on it.
Yeah, so there was a few options. The one thing I was not gonna do was something called freeze dry taxidermy. That's when basically she would be taxidermy to still look alive.
Hmm.
I have like some chameleons in my living room, some lizards, some snakes that are freeze dried taxidermied, but I don't think physically could have handled seeing that. So one thing I could handle is I already have this was like my third ever tattoo ever. This is Margot's skeleton.
Interesting.
I got that when I was 18. Um, but like, I, I guess in the sense is I wanted her cremated, but I also wanted to be able to see her, but also not see her in a way that would freak me out. So no freeze dry taxidermy, but I want to see you, but I also want your remains. So it's gonna be her skeleton, so like in a little shadow box. That way, because I plan on having like mainly her skull out, so I could see that.
Hmm.
That would bring me like some more comfort. I can see her, but not like a lot. I feel like I'm being repetitive.
I understand. Yeah, I understand what you want to be
Yeah,
able to see her
but
and you want her to be there in some capacity, but you don't want to look over and be like, oh my god, she's alive for a moment, and then kind of fuck with your own head.
yeah,
Yeah.
'cause that I wouldn't be able to handle.
So are you just trying to get
Um,
the skeleton taxidermied? Is that what you're saying? You just want the skeleton
the
articulated?
skeleton's gonna be cleaned. This is another thing people have been getting on my ass about is you can't taxidermy or you can't cremate without the bones.
Hmm.
You can. It's not gonna be as much
I imagine it's
ash or
easier.
as much remains.
Yeah.
I
I would
guess.
imagine like the
Um,
burning or the melting point or whatever it is for bones is probably higher than skin and organs. So I imagine it would be almost easier to taxidermy without a skeleton in it.
yeah, people were telling me, the skin, organs, and all the other tissues are gonna evaporate. You're not gonna have anything left. I already talked it out with my specialist. She's carefully removing the skeleton by hand, which is
Hmm.
another reason that added to more of the cost. So she's removing the skeleton by hand, cleaning it with the beetles, but then the rest of her remains are going to get cremated. So it's two things that technically don't happen a lot and
Hmm.
people think shouldn't or don't work, but we already talked it out. So she's going to make it happen. So I will get a good amount of ashes and I already have the urn. I posted it's in the living room. It's empty. I put some shed from her last skin
Hmm.
shed in there for now. But yeah, I'm going to turn her bones into a really cute little shadow box. I'm going to put her ashes in the urn and I'm going to have her little skull on display, with her little she already has a little statue out there with her name on it. I just want to make her a really nice area to where I can see her still.
Okay, I mean that makes
You
sense. She kind of went through your evolution as very formative
100%.
years and your evolution as a content creator.
Mhm.
Um, I have a question. Okay, I have a weird question almost
Okay,
because I know for me, but it's a little bit of a sensitive question, but I know
it's
for
okay.
me, like there's more to like my old content that like gets frustrating when people expect you to maintain what you used to be doing. Was there a frustration with people, constantly talking about the Margot meme? That I'll just call it the Margot meme. Your first thing that was
Yeah.
frustrating as you evolved as a content creator.
Yeah, 'cause, you don't really plan what you go viral on.
Mm,
You don't really
that's
get to
true.
pick and choose what video does good. So for that one to be all I was known for, started to slow because I wanted to be known for more. Like I said, I'm an artist. I'm a singer. I I'm a collector. I do all this stuff. I'm an actor. I was an actor for a decade. I did many, many shows.
Oh, are you like a theater kid?
I was.
That does explain a lot of behavior. My wife is a little theaterish, and her friends are, and it's so interesting how you'll see some people online. You're like they're a little cringe, and it's like, oh, they did theater. All of this makes so much sense now. It's like that's it for
Yeah.
me. If someone said I did theater, I'm like, I totally get it. Okay, and I don't even need any more questions. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, but I wanted to be known more for what I did, like for myself. So I'm sitting there you know, trying to work, promote work. I'm trying to show off my art. I'm trying to sing on TikTok, and it's always, "Where's Margo? Where's Margo? Where's
Hmm.
Margo? Where's Margo? Where's Margo?" And it like wasn't. I never got a break, and I was like, "Please, like I'm trying to show you more of myself." And then the asking where's Margo was turned into what happened to you? And it just
Mm,
progressively got worse. It just got into why do you look like this? You look ugly. Why are you so fat? And it just trickled from
Jesus
where's
Christ.
Margo into personal attacks. And I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, that makes sense. The insensitive question, and I don't mean it with any disrespect,
It's
is
okay.
was there like any, and you don't have to answer this question, but was there
Okay.
any level of relief almost when Margot passed, since it was so heavily associated with such a, we'll say, emotionally heavy time for you?
I'm gonna That's not insensitive. I fully get that question, but no. I was really expecting her to be around for much, much longer. I wanted when I moved, I was so ready to completely upgrade both of their tanks. I was ready to have them outside more. I was already looking at pens, enclosures, to safely have them outside where I was outside so they wouldn't get hurt. I had a lot of future plans for her, so no, I was still very devastated. There was no relief. I mean, if she was suffering, I'm glad she's not suffering anymore, because of cancer, but like, no,
Okay.
I
Yeah,
wish she was still here.
I was just curious, and even if you did
Yeah.
have a level of relief, it doesn't mean that you still wanted her to, you wouldn't be sad. But I was just curious
Mhm.
about that because I know like
Yeah, that's
content
totally
creation can
okay.
be strange. Um, is there anything about Margot that you felt like you didn't get to express, or the situation that you feel like you didn't get to talk about, or anything? Because I think I've covered all the bases. I tried to see what people said when I made that video of like, oh, I'd like to talk to you, but not really in this like
Mhm.
big argumentative, performative, like, I got feedback of people were like, oh, they killed their this and they did this. And I was like, okay, let me see that. And I
Yeah.
think we addressed pretty much all that. Is there anything that you feel like you haven't addressed?
Um, I've pretty much addressed everything. It's more of so I wish people understood that upon her passing, she was not obese. She was the healthy weight, she had those surgeries. She was I mean, of course, it went undetected, but like, how are you supposed to know?
Hmm.
And saying that I caused it, but from improper husbandry, but it's a genetic thing. So I just wish more people understood that this was going to happen inevitably,
Hmm.
and there was nothing to prevent it unless I had brought her in like a month prior,
Yeah, sure.
and she was fine the month prior,
Yeah,
so there
no,
was no
I,
reason.
I understand that. I think, and because people again, they get very exaggerated in their frustration. It's possible that there were environmental aspects to it, but again, you were very
Mm,
young when you got her,
mhm,
and a lot of it was learning. And it's like sometimes that's just unfortunately how it goes. Not
yeah.
to be crass, but okay, I'm happy that we were able to satisfy that. I'm happy with the direction of the conversation. I am a little curious if you're open to the conversation. You do not have to be. I'm always curious about like like non-binary identifications and
Yeah.
whatnot. That's something I'm curious about. Obviously, that wasn't going to be the main part of it. But I'm a little bit of an older guy. I'm
Mhm,
35 now. I understand. You know, I understand it, and I just don't fully understand it, if that makes sense. But I'm curious about your
mhm.
like your kind of your evolution with like your transition as a person and like your story. If you're open to having that
Yeah.
conversation,
So open. There's
okay,
nothing bad. There's nothing
okay,
bad that
yeah,
happened or anything. It's not like I had this terrible life altering moment. No. From a young age, I
yeah. That was my
I
first
grew
question.
up
Was
as a
like,
tomboy.
when? Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Always was a tomboy. I have cuts, scars, scrapes all over my legs. I was always outside. I'm playing with bugs. I'm going fishing. All my friends were guys as a kid.
Yeah, spiders.
Specifically a
Yeah.
little spiders, love spiders. I had this best friend, at this condo named Cody, and we were constantly out. We were going to the beaches, we were going fishing. Oh, it was just like it felt like 2 young boys hanging out, even though technically it was a little girl and a little boy.
Mhm.
But even, like, going into school, I had crushes on girls at the time. I hated my uniform. I was wearing dresses, and I just hated how dresses felt. But as I got older, my mother's a Christian, and it's a Christian family. They went to Baptists
It's
in
it's
Alabama.
almost typical. Yeah, the very
Yeah,
very hyper religious
yeah.
family tends to yeah. You see it happen. Yeah, sure.
So, of course, dresses and femininity, that whatever, womanly
Hmm.
was pushed onto me. So I just kinda went with it, for the while, but I was still gay. I
Yeah.
I liked everyone. I didn't care what they went by. So that's the term pansexual. I
Hmm.
have no preference. I'll date trans woman, trans men, cis woman, cis man, non-binary. I don't care
Hmm.
what they identify as. If we click, we click. That's the whole premises of me. But as I moved, especially moving out, just it was just like presenting feminine just got more and more and more uncomfortable. Like, wearing bras. I don't like how it feels. Binding my chest, I love how a flat chest looks. My hair was getting too long. It was getting tangled. It was getting unmanageable. So I cut it all off and it felt great. I stopped wearing makeup. And then that's when the transition finally started taking progress. I was always uncomfortable with being called she, woman, all that. I dropped the first name and I was just going by Hawke for the
Mm.
longest time. I was like, do not call me by my first name. And then it just slowly progressed through there. So now I'm not even on testosterone. I saw something online
Yeah, I
that
was
people were
gonna
like,
ask
he
about
wasted
that.
thousands on testosterone. I'm not on testosterone. I don't have top surgery. I'm not on testosterone.
Do you
I
have any intention of progressing more doing that, or are you comfortable with where you are right now?
I definitely want to start testosterone, but given my mental state right now and what testosterone can do to your
Let's,
mental state, your emotions, your body, I would be a raging wreck right now if
yeah,
I were to
it's
start. So
just
I am definitely seeking help,
it's
therapy, medication before.
that's good. It's funny because there's a lot of conversation about how emotional women are, but like, yeah, the second you go on
Yeah.
testosterone, you become a like more of a violent emotional wreck, right? Like
Yeah.
it's an emotion, it's a different one.
Yeah.
So
And
I
I have
totally understand
BPD,
that.
so it would not mix
Oh,
well.
yeah,
So
that makes sense. I imagine it's
unmedicated too. So
okay. That's fair. I mean, imagine like social media probably exacerbates these issues. It's a very
mhm.
interesting phenomenon. I don't think people talk about it enough of how social media exposure can be very distressing. You know, even
Yeah.
for somebody old. Again, I'm 35, and my 5 years as a content creator has been, you know, if I wasn't older and I didn't have a stable relationship, and I probably would have been fucking horrific. You know, so that
Yeah.
makes sense. So you do have intentions of transitioning further once you feel like you're in a good place and you can do it.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean,
And with the top surgery, I mean, I don't mean to get, like, personal. I like them,
mhm.
but they're too big.
Gotcha.
They're too big. So, either reduction or fully off
Yeah, I was
in the
gonna say
future
I
when I'm
could
ready.
I can imagine it. Maybe it like it's bad. Does it hurt your back or
Yeah.
anything, or is
Oh
there?
my god, yes. I'm hoping I can get it done for free, and fully covered because, like I said, that back injury that I had to
Mhm.
spend tens of thousands on physical therapy, MRIs, and all that, I can just say that was a cost.
Yeah, or at the very least, an exacerbator of an issue. That's funny
Yeah.
because I've fucked up my back just bending over, picking up empty buckets before when I used to work like a real job. I call it, you know. So I understand the back being crippling. I'd go to work, but I would just be like trying to lay down the entire time. It was a whole
Mhm.
disaster. Okay, that's very interesting. My last question would
Mhm.
it's gonna be like almost like a jokey, a little silly question. Do you know
It's okay.
Do you know who Caleb Hammer is?
I know the
The
name.
financial audit guy.
No.
I was gonna
The
ask you if
name's
you.
familiar,
I was
though.
gonna ask you if you'd be willing to go on his show. He does like those silly financial audits. Like he goes, it's almost like Jerry Springer style, but he goes through your stuff, and it's like a whole thing. So I was gonna ask you if you'd go on that, just as like kind of a joke. But you don't know
Oh, that'd
Caleb,
be
which
so silly,
yeah,
but
I refuse to go through my own. I don't need people to see the ridiculous shit that I've spent money on. Um, is there anything that you want to touch on or ask me or express or anything before we?
um, I think that was pretty one other thing that I know
Okay,
people are going to bring up,
all
that
right.
they're going to ask about. 2 previous lizards.
Mm,
2 previous lizards, and I have to make this known because people are completely making up stuff about this. So, the first lizard, her name was Melon. Tiny, tiny little thing. She only lasted a week with me,
mm,
and what had happened is people wanted to say, she got impacted and died or something that I did. Uh, no, she arrived with an upper respiratory infection that we had no idea about because she was the size of my pinky. She was very, very new baby, bearded dragon. She passed of an upper respiratory infection that the breeder didn't know about and that I didn't know about. So she passed in her sleep. So the next bearded dragon, his name was Lennon. He was my first ever male. So feisty. And there was a few videos on my TikTok of him. I know people are gonna bring up, and people have been posting videos about him. He lasted 6 or 7 months, and the story with him is he was doing great. So it was my 18th birthday. I had a friend fly down to come visit me for my 18th birthday, and we were out doing stuff all day, staying out pretty late at night. And I told my mother and my siblings, "Hey, please watch Lennon and don't let him near Margot. Make sure his tank, like the lid of his tank is shut because he prior to had escaped twice. He had escaped out of the enclosure twice from just pushing it up and getting out. So I was like, please make sure, like, stay in my room, play on my Xbox, just make sure he doesn't get out. Watch them. So I'm out for my 18th birthday. I come home really late. My mom's yelling at me because I came home an hour late, and I'm sitting on my bed, and I look at Lennon's tank. He's not in there, and I was like, what the fuck? Look at Margot's tank, and
Oh,
he jumped in there when no one was paying attention. He jumped in there, and
did she eat him?
she didn't eat him.
Oh, okay,
She
that's what I
crushed his skull.
Damn.
She almost decapitated him.
Wow.
It was very, very gruesome, and it had literally happened right before I got home because the blood was fresh. I couldn't even like look at Margot for a week. So I'm screaming at my mom. I'm screaming at my siblings. I'm like, why did you let this happen? Why weren't you watching them? And people were making up the story that Margot got in his tank and purposefully got him. But no, my family wasn't watching him like I'd asked them to do. He escaped, jumped in, and that unfortunately happened. And that is something I really need people to get through to their heads, as both of those deaths
Yeah.
were not my doing.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of just like that sometimes. My mother was about to adopt a dog, and then the dog, like, died. I don't know if she doesn't even know what happened. Like, they just got out and died, and something happened before she even
Mhm.
got him. And sometimes, unfortunately, especially if you try to get them from, like, different sources, like sources of, like, my mom tries to adopt, like, abused animals, they're going to come
Yeah,
with some kind of baggage or some kind of an issue. So that makes sense.
yeah,
Okay. Well, unfortunately, people are probably not going to, even if they watch this, they're going to still have opinions, and sometimes people are
yeah,
hateful. So hopefully moving
yeah,
forward, you just kind of, unfortunately, you just ignore it and eventually it goes away when you don't give it attention. And do you
yeah.
intend to put your stuff back off private after
Uh-huh.
you? Okay. And yeah, just
Right
got to,
now, I'm just protecting my peace. People are saying, they're like, "Ah, he took the money and he ran." No, I took the money and I put it exactly where I said I was gonna put it, and had so my TikTok's not deleted. It's
mhm.
just deactivated for now
Yeah,
because
that's what I
I didn't
figured.
want
Yeah.
people mass reporting and deleting everything I had worked for the past 5 years. They already mass reported my furry account, so all 30,000 followers I had built,
Hmm.
that's gone. My art account is gone, and all I have left is Margot's Instagram, my Instagram,
That makes
and
sense.
Twitter. That's all I've got left.
It makes sense to want
So,
to
trying to protect
preserve
it.
that, especially if I'm assuming you're in like whatever creator fund that they have on.
Mm-mm.
Oh, you're not in the creator fund on
I'm
TikTok?
not I don't make any money on TikTok. People are like, "I
Oh,
make thousands on TikTok." No, I don't.
you should try. Is there a reason you don't
I
want to do
did.
that?
Last time I joined it, I went from getting roughly half a million to a million views regularly. I joined the creator fund a few years ago, and no more views. I
Okay.
stopped getting views. I wasn't getting paid at all, and as soon as I stopped the creator fund and monetization, my views came back.
Yeah,
So
it's
I was
interesting.
like,
People had
oh,
expressed that. I personally don't even know anymore. I didn't have that issue on like back in the day in the old fund. I don't know if it's an
mhm,
issue in the current fund because I came back to TikTok at the beginning of last year with the intention of doing the creator fund. So I've never not done it if I
yeah,
but it's
it's different for everyone,
it's
honestly.
interesting. It's not as good as it used to be, but it's better than most other platforms. But
Yeah.
it sounds like you have a good plan for the future. Just stick to it through thick and thin, and I think you'll be all right.
Mhm.
So that's it for me. And if you got nothing else, I really do appreciate you coming on and having this conversation and giving me the opportunity to interview you.
Of course, and like I said, I'm an open book. I really would just like to I just wanted to tell everyone the truth because honestly, everyone's calling me a liar. So I'm like, please listen.
Yeah, that's.
That was pretty much everything, honestly.
I'm happy we got through it. I'm happy I was able to give you like a little pushback and you were able to answer the questions. Some people are just not going to take it. It is
Yeah,
what it is.
very
So
happy we talked.
yeah, me
Very
too.
happy.
Well, we'll keep in touch. You take care, and again, I appreciate you coming on.
Of course.
All
Have
right,
a good day.
you too. All right, that was a good conversation, but I've disappeared. Whoa, there we go. Yeah, good conversation. I actually enjoyed that a lot. It's nice to do normal human being conversations instead of trying to do some weird shit and like be some kind of like a weird performative dunk artist or something. So I feel satisfied with the answers they gave. They seem like they're honest, you know. So I don't know what anybody else's perspective is, but yeah, it's cool stuff.